You got a good sound check, Walt? I can't hear. You have no volume. Yeah. That's cool. Close it out and open it back up. Right click it. Right click on it. Yeah, when you right click, at the bottom it should say close tab. Oh, tap to your sister Angie. You can pull it up on your phone, can't you? pull that tab that I sent you. I texted to you as well as emailed it. Huh? I hear you on the phone. I don't hear you on. Oh, okay.
I mute my mic.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
We'll get started at the end of this. We'll let the laid back Sunday play for a couple minutes, and then we'll go right into the lesson. You go into your introduction.
Great Awakening. Great Awakening. Great Awakening. You have a copy, Pastor.
Do I have a copy?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, we're having some difficulties.
There's a big gap. Yeah, there's a big gap before you hear me. There's a big gap before you hear me.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Walt?
On my phone.
Oh, you can't hear me through the StreamYard system?
Just on my phone.
Angie, give me a mic check out there, Angela. You know, it appears that every time we get ready to go live with some
Nope.
real stuff, we have problems. Patricia, give me a mic check out there. I see you. Patricia, give me a mic check out there. I see you.
Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check.
I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, there's a long delay though before you hear what I'm saying. Maybe you better just go right into the charts.
Angie, am I current with you? Do you hear a delay? Angela says she's not getting a delay. All right, well, go ahead with the intro.
I'm gonna go out and come back in. All right, let's go. Great awakening. Great awakening. What happens when a pastor awakens beyond the pulpit? The sacred shift. Sacred Shift explores the metaphysical evolution of a former Christian minister now walking a path of spiritual consciousness. Join us as we unravel truth beyond doctrine, honor divine feminine wisdom, explore ancient metaphysics, and bridge the mystical with the practical. This is your sanctuary for sacred truth, divine intelligence, and soul liberation. Welcome to Sacred Ship. Sacred Ship, where ancient truth meets modern awakening. Our teacher is passionately known as Pastor Keith. Pastor Keith is a former pastor now walking the metaphysical path, asking more profound questions, challenging old beliefs, and embracing the divine beyond doctrine. If you're ready to honor your past while stepping into your highest truth, this podcast is for you. If you've outgrown religion but not God, you're in the right place. Let's shift together. Ways you can participate: you can call or text a question to 269 209 5499. 269 209 5499. Or come on the video platform to participate live. A link will be in the chat. Sacred Shift would like to thank you for joining the Sacred Shift podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay open to the unfolding of your higher self. In today's episode, we're exploring something profound and potentially transformative: beyond the rib, the metaphysical creation of Eve. Yeah, yeah.
We thank you, my brothers and my sisters, for tuning in to our broadcast on this evening. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. It always happens. Anytime we get ready to go live with some fire, we get spiritual interruption from an unclean spirit. And so, with that being said, we thank Elder Walt for that introduction. We rebuilding, we reforming our platform. So please be patient with us. However, today we are going to go into a new lesson. We've been teaching on this transition that we've made as it pertains to. You have to mute your mic. Well, as it pertains to us moving from the Aquarian age into the Piscean age. As it pertains to, you have to mute your mic. Well, that was a long delay. And so I thought it was very apropos to talk about the beginning of creation and give us a metaphysical perspective along with the biblical perspective, and then also a scientific perspective on this thing called creation. Okay. Now the majority of us have been taught about creation as it pertains to Christianity, going back we probably 6,000 years backwards in the book of Genesis, where it talks about their depiction of creation. The story is told by the Hebrew individuals who have embraced other belief systems, I believe, and took parts of those belief systems and made their own. Because you remember that Abraham came across the waters and started the race and culture of the Hebrew people. That's what the Hebrew word means is he who is from the other side of the river. So, however, Abraham wasn't the first one in the area according to their story. Okay, you had Noah, you had Adam, you had Eve, you had individuals, Nimrod, you had individuals that was talked about in the Bible prior to talking about Abraham. Okay, and so with that being said, the first 5 books of the Bible was written by someone who came after Abraham as well, which was Moses. Moses is given credit to writing the first 5 books of the Bible. So I wanna talk about that because that's a story that we've been brought up on, stories that we believe. I believe that's exactly what they are stories, not necessarily real events. But we're going to look at all aspects, the metaphysical, the science, and the theological aspects of this idea about Eve. Eve, you know, nature, when you look at nature, and I believe that the Creator utilized nature to facilitate its agenda. And in nature, nothing enters into this dimension without first coming through a female. Okay, and so we're going to talk about that because when we read the Bible is telling a story, and I think that is misinterpreted in a lot of ways. And so because it's misinterpreted, it took on a more patriarchal characteristics, where the female was not even included, was not even a part of this idea of creation. Okay, and so we're going to shift in this lesson today with Beyond the Rib. We want to talk about Beyond the Rib. Let's talk about what happened before the rib story, okay? The metaphysical creation of Eve. Because in the book of Genesis, the first 2 chapters, it talks about Eve being made, okay, from the rib of Adam, okay? Now, I often talk about the 3 different transitions according to the Hebrew Bible because I try to make sense to those who follow the Hebrew Bible so that they can understand the symbolisms that is associated in that. I have I put a photo, and I just posted it, which gives you the idea of creation. It's a piece of art. If you have an imagination, you can see how creation came to be. This photo to me looks like a woman with her legs spread, the vagina, and creation coming through, to where another person will see clouds and water and that sort of thing. But I purposely utilize this photo because we want to talk about the divine feminine. The divine feminine. Nothing happens in this dimension. So we have to talk about and understand that we are in a 3-dimensional world. And because we are in a 3-dimensional world, there's laws that is associated with this 3-dimensional world. And in the insect world, it's 2-dimensional. You know, with animals and insects, it's 2-dimensional. Okay, and then you got your minerals. It's one dimensional. So they have certain laws that is designed to facilitate their being in that dimension. Okay, a person or a sustenance from the first dimension cannot function in the third dimension because it does not have the faculties or the intelligence or the ingenuity to participate in this three-dimensional world. And so you must understand that we can't always just be spiritual or religious about information. We have to look at it from multiple perspectives. I'm not suggesting that we don't look at it from a religious perspective. We have to, because that's our history. I am suggesting that we need to look at it from a scientific, from a metaphysical, from a theological, from multiple presentation of information. Okay, the more information you gather in, the better you're going to understand what's going on. Okay, in this episode, we're going to dive into the metaphysical and the theological symbolisms behind Eve's creation, exploring what it reveals about divine feminine energy, soul, duality, and humanity's spiritual design. Join me as we go beyond the literal and into the mystical, because a lot of this is mystical to us because we ain't been nowhere but the church. Okay? You have to go beyond the church to be able to understand the mystical. Mystical doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It just means that you don't have access to the information. Okay? So, let's go. Let's talk about scientifically. In terms of evolutionary biology, neither male nor females came first. When you deal with biology, neither male or female came first. Life evolved from asexual organism. Okay? Asexual organism, not two words, a and sexual, but asexual is an organism, and sexual reproduction later developed as a more advanced form of genetic variations. So as time went forward in a secular manner, atoms and chromosomes and all of these particles from the universe began to amalgamate together and began to produce something. It began to produce matter, okay? Because all of those molecules and spiritual nuances that come from the heavens, it is spiritual, but it becomes material, okay? Or I should say matter. As evolution progressed, sexuality reproducing organisms emerged with male and female roles involving together a part of a species. Okay? Now, we were not always on the planet. Okay? Now, when science talks about, they give the theory of the Big Bang, okay, it's a theory, and I always say everything is a theory because we wasn't there. We can't validate it. The only way that you can validate anything is anything in this dimension, in this three-dimensional world, is through science. That's the only way you're going to be able to validate it. So the Big Bang is said to have taken place 13.5 billion years ago. Okay, so humans were not always on the planet, did not always exist until all of the process of creation took its effect. Okay? Creation just did not happen like that, like we read in the Hebrew text, and God said, and it happened like that. No, there was time. It was a time period that this universe had to go through. Okay? In human evolution, males and females evolve simultaneously because they are biologically interdependent. Okay? One cannot exist without the other in terms of human reproduction. So scientifically, there's no real first. Both sexes co-evolved. Okay? Co-evolved. Now, I did some research on how does an embryo becomes an embryo and that sort of thing. And as I said earlier, we are asexual, or we are what they call dang, I had the word right on my tongue. Well, we are both male and female. It isn't until the chromosome decides to take its direction. The only way that you can be a male is that you have to have that Y chromosome. If you don't have a Y chromosome, you cannot be a male. If you don't have double X, you cannot be a female. So the argument about an individual's confusion about their sexuality, it can easily be proven to themselves through science. All they have to do is do a DNA test on you, a chromosome test on you, and you will find out whether or not you have double X or you have the X and the Y. And that'll tell you what you really are. Now, you can be and do whatever you choose to do because you all have free will. But that's a method of scientifically proving what is and what is not. Okay? And so it cannot be a theory. Okay? It cannot be a theory. It's theory until you have a DNA check. Okay? Now, let's look at the biblical religious view. In Genesis chapter 2, it says Adam was created first and Eve was created from Adam's rib, suggesting male precedes female. Okay? However, Genesis 1 says male and female, he created them simultaneously in God's image, which implies equality and co-creation. See, we have two stories being told in the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 1 talks about God creating male and female. He created them, okay? And then chapter 2 talks about another creation when Jehovah blew into the nostrils of Adam and he became a living soul. So that's a part of creation. So there's a lot of confusion between chapter 1 and chapter 2. And later on in chapter 2, right around 22, 23, verse 22, 23, it talks about Adam being put to sleep and Eve is taken from his rib. There are two different creation stories in Genesis, and many scholars interpret them symbolically rather than chronologically. Okay? So really, when you read the Bible, it's all about interpretation. interpretation. Okay, your conclusion is no different from those individuals who are said to have written it. Okay, because you can read a letter that someone sends you, and you can interpret the letter from your perspective, and it could be that you misinterpreted what was being said, and there's a fallout. Okay, and this is why we use the technology, text messaging, all the time. It could be so ambiguous that a person can take what you say the wrong way because you shortening up the context. Okay, and so because you miss certain words, that sort of thing, and if an individual is not vibing with you, they can take you out of context and misinterpret what you were trying to say. Okay, so we need to understand that you are no different than Jesus. Okay, you are no different than Jesus. Jesus talks about it in John chapter 22, I think it was. I posted it the other day on my Facebook page. But Jesus talks about the oneness that we are. I am one, you are one with me, that sort of thing. So he talks about this oneness that originated from the beginning of the multi-universe. Okay? See, we existed long before we appeared here in this three-dimensional world. And so if we understand that we have the same abilities, Jesus says, the works I do, you shall do also, but you're going to do greater works. Okay? Greater works. Why do Jesus say you're going to be able to do greater works than he did? But we give Jesus, unlimited powers. Excuse me. Jesus had a purpose and have a purpose or has a purpose, just like you and I. We all appeared in this dimension, in this reality, because this is what it is a reality, by permission. We agreed with the Creator, okay? Everybody agrees with the Creator in order to be able to exist in this dimension. And again, as I said earlier, the only way that you can exist in this dimension is that you are able to come through the womb. A man, a male, or a female cannot come into this dimension unless they come through the womb of a woman. It's impossible for you just to be able to show up without this woman. However, if we read the Bible thoroughly, we can see that the Bible is male dominant. Okay, it says very little about women. Even in the New Testament, it does not speak or give any validity to the divine feminine energy of a female. Okay, now we all have divine feminine energy, just like we all have divine masculine energy. They coexist, as I said earlier. They coexist. One cannot exist without the other. Okay? Now, let's look at the metaphysical symbolic view of this topic. From a metaphysical or symbolic standpoint, gender is often seen as expression of duality. the yin and the yang, masculine and feminine, active and receptive forces. Okay? You got to have an opposite. Everything in this dimension is ruled with opposite. Okay? If two people were the same, one would be unnecessary. Okay? Now, remember, in your divine appointment to come into the planet, your agreement with the Creator was to allow the Creator to experience life, not your life. Now, a lot of us take on ownership of our life, and we represent that human trinity, me, myself, and I. But the Creator wants to experience the life that you live, and the Creator is no respecter of person. The Creator, just because you decide to rob, steal, kill, rape, and all this kind of stuff, that does not mean that the Creator is upset with you doing that. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying nothing's right about that. However, the only way the Creator is going to be able to have that data of experience is for someone to be able to do that. Someone has to do that in order for the Creator to have the experience. Now, every experience is going to be different with every individual because we are all different. My experience is kind of like when we took ballroom dancing with Brother Mike King. There was quite a few guys that started out taking ballroom dancing, and we all had a different experience in it. Some fell to the wayside, some struggled with the dance, some just quit, some grasped it, my experience with learning how to ballroom was different than Elder Walt's experience and taking ballroom lessons. It became a desire for me, and so therefore I embraced it. So the Creator is experiencing what I'm experiencing as it pertains to ballroom dancing. The Creator is experiencing what Elder Walt is experiencing about ballroom dancing. He knows about ballroom dancing. I know about ballroom dancing, but there's two different experiences. So everybody is going to experience an event totally different. Okay? In this view, metaphysical view, masculine and feminine energies are co-eternal principles of existence. They are co-eternal principles of existence. They were there from the beginning, and they are here now. Okay, coexistence. Some metaphysical traditions suggest that the feminine energy, the receptive, nurturing void, that's what they're calling it, the receptive, nurturing void, may actually precede form. Okay? This energy of the feminine energy is going on before matter, before physicality. Okay? So the metaphysics is implying that the divine feminine, known as Sophia, Nut, Shakti, their story is told. The story of Sophia is told as it pertains to creation. The story of Newt is told from the ancient Kenites about creation coming from the waters. Okay, this story that is told in talking about the divine feminine is the womb of all creation, from which even the masculine arises. Okay, see, everything comes out of that energy, that thought. Okay, in the beginning was the thought, and the thought was with God, and the thought is God. Okay, I'm gonna deal with that a little bit on another slide. So the feminine might precede the masculine spiritually, even if the masculine was emphasized first in the myth of symbols. Okay, see, we were introduced to the masculine, and the masculine only. The only female that I can remember anybody emphasizing was Mary, the mother of Jesus. Okay, but there's nothing said about this energy, this feminine energy that causes us to exist. Okay. See, if you're denying your feminine energy, then you're not going to ascend like maybe you want to. We've been taught to deny femininity. Okay, when our sons would cry when they was young, we as men, we tell them, shut up, men don't cry. Boom, boom, boom. You know, we are denying them the experience of their feminine side. We all have a feminine side, and that is to acknowledge that something's wrong with you in your identity. Is that we both have X and Y chromosomes. Okay, X and Y chromosomes says that we were one or the other. Okay, in mammals, including humans, the female double X, okay, is the default blueprint, and the male XY is created by the presence of a Y chromosome. See, the male shows up when the Y shows up. See, because the X is already there, the XX is already there, and when that Y chromosome shows up, then the male shows up. Okay? So that male could not have been the first created being. Okay? Now, it could be their story, the story of the Hebrews, to where the male is the first created being. Okay? It's their story. It's like, every day you and I are writing our stories. We are the author of our stories. Okay? You can write people in and you can write them out. Okay? Your story. Because you are the author. That is powerful. When you realize that you are the author, then when you experience what you used to experience before coming into the knowledge that you are the author, you can't get hurt no more. Because you can choose to write that hurt right out of your life. See, we choose to be hurt. We choose to be mad. We choose to do what we do. It's up to us. It's our reality. Okay? It's kind of like watching playing video. I've never played video, but I can like God imagine, I should say like the creator imagine what it's like. I intuitively understand the nuances of video games. But when individuals get so engulfed into a video game, that video game is becoming their reality. That's why a lot of guys today, a lot of people I should say today, are living the lives that they're living, doing the things that they're doing because of their reality. Okay? Now, an individual's reality is real. Okay? It may not be real to me because that's not my reality. Okay? That's not my reality. What you do, what you build, what you decide in your life is your reality. Okay? I say all the time, that's not in my story. They're not in my story. I write you in, I write you out. If I write you out, you don't even exist to me in my reality. Okay? You exist, but not necessarily in my reality. Okay? See, this is taking on the inner energy of the feminine energy. And we're still talking about Eve. Okay? We're talking about the biblical Eve. Okay? In metaphysics, creation is not just about physical bodies. It's about principles, energies, and archetypes that manifest reality. Okay? So when you start dealing with energies, that's what changes your world. Okay? That changes your world. When you have a Visa card, okay, they got a $10,000 limit, that change your world. However, when you position yourself to have a black card that has $100,000 limit, that your world just changed. Okay, your ability to function in this reality has changed. Okay, because something was added. Okay, you positioned yourself to get a black card. You can't say, "Oh, thank you, Lord, for this black card." No, the Lord didn't give you a black card and didn't give me one. You have to qualify for the black card. You know, you hear a lot of people give credit to God for doing certain things in their lives when the reality is God didn't do anything in your life. Okay, you did it. Now, by whatever means you did it with, what I want to say, it's acceptable, it's okay. You know, you are the one who put in the work. Okay, you are the one who did the 14 years of education to position yourself to get this job. Oh, but thank you, Lord. You can give the Lord credit if you're functioning in the Lord's energy. But the Lord is not giving you and not give to the next brother. See, that's the whole problem with it. If we are all God's children, God will treat us all the same. I was listening to the news the other day, and they was talking about how the people were starving over in Gaza. You know, it was kind of like the movie The Hunger Game that was going on over there. But they supposed to be God's children. But all of that is taking place over in Gaza because of somebody else. Okay? So sometimes things happen to us that has nothing to do with us, but because we are in the vicinity or the environment of somebody else's stuff, it affects us also. Okay? Now, is that God? Why is God allowing that? Okay? Why do we only give thanks for the good things? Okay? Why don't we after we rob that liquor store, why don't we thank God for getting us caught, locking us up? Okay? Because if God do the good things, God is doing the bad things. So understand that it's good to reverence and give glory to our Creator. However, don't use our Creator as your cop-out. Why things is not happening for you. Hey, man, what's happening? How's it going? Man, I'm trying to make it. It's rough out here. It's rough out here because you making it rough because it's your reality. It's your reality. So don't complain about what you are not doing. Before anything is formed, there is space, stillness, potential, the void. Before anything is formed, when you get ready to do something, you think about it. Okay? You figure it out. The scripture says, how do a man go to war without first adding up the cost? Okay? When you determine that it ain't worth doing what you're doing, then you don't do it. So you think about your outcomes. And this is divine feminine energy that is processing in you. Before anything is formed, there is space within you. There is stillness. There is potential. There is the void. Okay? This is the divine feminine, known as Sophia, Wisdom, Nut, Shakti, Aset, or Isis. She is not a gender woman, but the principle of reciprocity, intuition, intuition, gestation, and sacred darkness. That's when we go within. We go within, you sit still, you be still, and you go into your area of void where there's no voices, there's no sound, it's just you in the universe. And then you start projecting and you know, I'm starting, and I've noticed that since we've made this transition from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age, I'm starting to be more clairvoyant. I'm starting to realize my dreams at night. When I wake up, I know what happens now. I can talk about my dreams, because in all actuality, I was there participating in my other body, my spiritual body. Okay. And then when it was time for me to awaken, I came back to the physical body. Okay. Because the physical body is still alive. It still have electricity. Okay. Metaphysically, divine feminine is the container for divine intelligence to become manifested. Okay. All right. It's 8 o'clock. It's time for us to check out. We said we would only be doing this for an hour. Where'd my mouse go? There we are. All right. Did we get any questions or anything in the chat? Or anybody have any questions, concerns, or comments as it pertains to what was being said? Anybody have any questions, concerns, or comments as it pertains to what was being said?
Nothing in the chat, Pastor.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that delay just happens to you. Oh, I don't hear you, Walt. You muted. You got your mic muted.
Okay, I was trying to use the connect in the comments in the chat room.
Uh-huh. You got your mic muted.
Yeah, it's unmuted now.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Disregard. Okay, I was trying to use the comments in the chat room.
Uh-huh. All right, my brothers and my sisters, we're going to end the day. We're going to hopefully have this thing together without these interruptions from the technology. Again, because we're in the age of Aquarius, we got to deal with this technology. We might have to add to it. We might have to do something. We're going to get it together. And we'll see you on next Monday. May the Creator continue to bless you and keep you as holy, my prayer.